I'm gonna change a little bit the procedure, and I'm gonna ask the audience if they have a question. Let's start from you, and then we'll go to questions that I have in my mind and we discussed before. So, anybody? There is one. Ah, you have the, okay, I'm sorry. All right, all right. Please, your name and...
My name is Amanda. I'm from the Embassy of Sweden. I'm just curious about the role, potential role of hydrogen as a storage for energy. Perhaps it's more relevant for Volvo. In the fuel cells, I mean, there's alternatives with cooling and with ammonia.
I would say the short answer is that we definitely believe in both hydrogen as, let's say, an energy carrier on vehicles, but we also see a connection to wind power here, so I will hand over the mic here just when I finished here. So it's definitely so that hydrogen has many win-wins, I would say, not only for vehicles, but also, let's say, to manage the capacity challenges that we see in the power grids, but also when it comes to renewable energy as well.
I think hydrogen has a lot of potential, and it will eventually play a role. And it is it's not at all prohibitive to energy. If anything, it is supportive. But I see we still have a long way to go. So we still have a lot of kilometers to. It's a long distance. My focus would be at this moment to tackle the big challenges that we have when it comes to wind, which is the #1 renewable resource, in order to be able to promote it, so for the consumers to have cheap energy and clean energy. So that would be my focus.
Also, if I may say that on your presentation, Mr. Mortensen, I noticed that you have liquefied methane, bio-LNG, biodiesel, hydrogen. So there is an order that we should follow in a way in order to reach hydrogen level, and where hydrogen is going to be the one carrier that we're going to use. So we have to pass through stages, I think.
I think to start with, we believe that the different energy sources will complement each other. And for example, we have today a cooperation with a windmill manufacturer that is looking into the possibility to, let's say, in connection to the windmill, also to produce hydrogen and store the hydrogen, and then we can use it in the trucks. So I think we see synergies here. Then, of course, it's a matter of time here as well, and it also has to be cost efficient. But we strongly believe there are many win-wins when it comes to hydrogen.
Okay. Costa.
It is. Did I do this?
No.
Okay. It is one of the solutions. We have many, and it's one of them. It is environmentally thinking. It is a great fuel, because what do you get out of it? It's water. So what's the problem? It's the amount of energy it needs to be produced, generated. So once this gap is resolved, I think we'll have an excellent perspective, even also used to cover the energy needs in buildings.
Okay, that was a very good question, because he moved us to the questions that I have in my mind. You presented technologies and methodologies, and I would like to ask you how mature, meaning that how easy it is a common person to use it. For example, electric trucks. We need transportation. I mean, is it mature to have an electric truck for Athens to go to Stockholm? Let's make it like that. And of course, the technology is there, I understand. But do they have so many electric, how you call it? Yes.
I think I tried to make clear that, let's say, electric truck are today primarily suited for more local and regional transport due to range, but obviously there is in theory, it should be possible to drive from Athens up to Stockholm using, let's say, the charging infrastructure that exists, both for trucks but also for cars.
For cars.
So in theory, it's possible, but I don't think it will make business sense, not yet at least. So in the future, there will be, let's say, opportunities, but also for this type of longer transport, that is maybe where both biogas, but also hydrogen will come in the future. So once again, the different technologies and also different energy will complement each other. There will not be one solution for everything here.
Okay. What about the FOW? Now I got
The floating wind, okay.
the acronym.
So, floating wind technologies, and I use plural because there are many variations of these technologies, are maturing at quite a fast pace. They are advancing really at quite a fast pace, especially over the past decade. But I would say they are not yet as mature, they're not yet as mainstream, if you will, as onshore wind is, or even our fixed bottom cousins. But because we are on the verge of commercialization, and I hope and I expect to see commercialization be reached by the end of the decade and the first gigawatt projects, I think we will reach that maturity phase by the end of the decade. But we've already have seen signs of the technology's effectiveness, both on the benefit to the environment. I mentioned that, you know, you can have a potential positive environmental externality, but also on the energy output. And I mentioned the capacity factor. You know, we have about 60% onshore, 30, solar 15 to 20. So there's a big gap there. And I still believe that there is still room, plenty of room for improvement. And so when it comes to floating wind, I would bet long.
Okay. Just for curiosity, the Koreans, because you had it in one of your slides, the Koreans, how far ahead it is compared to us?
Well, us meaning Greece,
Us.
because that's very much
not
ahead.
Greek, but Europeans.
European.
Let's call it, yeah,
So the Koreans, because they mostly have deep waters, they are very aggressively pursuing policies for floating, and they are cutting off red tape and bureaucracy. So if I had to bet, I would say that the first gigawatt plus project would be in Korea.
Okay, that I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Costa, do you want to add something? All right.
Well, the technologies are there. The information is there. The solutions are there, and the industry has been responding and keep improving. The market is full of possible solutions. So where's the problem? Well, the problem is financing all these renovations, the retrofits that we need in our buildings. So the big challenge is to be able to support the building owner, the business owner, to be able to implement these possible solutions.
Okay. You're working many, many years, as far as I know you, on smart buildings, and you had a very nice slide, the building, the neighborhood, and then the city. Why we don't have anything, I mean, real, except very few exceptions for a smart city in Greece, for example?
Because it's not easy. It's
I know
very
that.
challenging. And the complexities of the smarters are just emerging. Up to now, you didn't really have to be smart other than some building management systems at your own. But now, you're going to be interconnected. Now, you're going to have your neighborhood buildings, and maybe your city, and maybe your local network. And we need to be able to respond to the different needs, to the different loads. So all this automatically now raises the bar.
Okay.
And that is going to bring in all the other smartness facets. It's not just controlling your equipment, it's not just controlling it's controlling your transportation, it's controlling when you charge or discharge a battery in your car, for example, or be able to facilitate the information about traffic, so it will give me the best route to reach my point. Things that we already start getting a taste of it, even with our just applications we have on our cell phone, but bringing and connecting all this, imagine who's going to really get the first kilowatt hour, the first electron that is available. Who's going to prioritize it get?
Yeah, as he said, the first, yeah, okay. So, therefore, let's talk a little bit about the key challenges. And regarding the key challenges for the wide-scale adaptation of such solutions and frameworks, can we learn something from you, from Sweden? I mean, how deep you are in electrifying your trucks?
I would say that, to start with, something that I didn't mention is that the transport industry is quite a conservative industry. So in order to drive a change, you need to be able to prove that the solution is working. And one thing that I believe is a strength in Sweden is what is called triple helix. It's a cooperation between universities, authorities, and industry. So in that type of context, we have cooperated with others, and we have, let's say, set up demonstration projects in big scale, and we have been able to prove to our customers and others that this is actually working. So demonstrators are really, let's say, key to show to others in the industry that it's working, and then we can scale up.
So in our case, there are several challenges. I don't know where to start. I think perhaps the most important is the costs, and especially now with persistent inflation, with all these sort of bottlenecks and the high cost of capital, I think it makes our life harder. So costs is one, and I think we will be able to drive down costs when we scale up. Scale is going to be a big advantage for us, and when we move innovation away from the wind turbine, which it's been innovating a lot, but also to the floater and other parts. But beyond that, around floating wind, a whole new ecosystem is being built. And there are many challenges there that also obviously create bottlenecks for us. So for example, there is a weak port infrastructure, which is important. We don't have enough shipping vessels to transport the floaters to the locations. We have a shortage of powerful cranes to lift this very heavy steel structure. And even some of the components, because we have a deficit in the components, we have to order them from China and Asia and elsewhere, and so on and so forth. We are in a difficult situation, but I think if we are going to walk the walk and reach net zero, as we have said, we need renewables, and honestly, floating offshore wind is an unlimited, untapped resource, and it will be a game changer. And I think, with all honesty, now I'm in floating wind, but with all honesty, I think the potential is huge, the upside is huge, and the opportunity is now.
Okay, let's assume that leftai υπάρχουν. We have the money. Okay.
That's a good assumption.
That's no problem about that.
Yeah.
Do you believe that it's easy to install 1 megawatt of FOW in Greece tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow it is hard because these things take time, and there is a lot of bureaucracy. And even if we wanted, to do that, we, as I mentioned, the supply and the other bottlenecks, we, for example, need the energy grid.
Yeah.
So
no
we need, even
yeah.
if we can place them on the water, we need the cable to transport
Exactly.
the energy. So it's the whole ecosystem,
Exactly.
okay, that we have to deal with.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That I was trying to emphasize the lack of power system, not only for Europe, even for new onshore wind and renewable in Greece.
If you had the money.
If
you had the money, you could install the infrastructure, the new grid.
But you have the bureaucracy.
Right, that's what I want to say. So the issues about policies, and not just setting the law and the regulation, but enforcing it, monitoring, has been a big challenge issue. And even at the European level, and every member state has different experiences and issues, we have huge problems in Greece. We have so many laws, but we need one law that says you need to follow the law. So that's really part of the challenge. But I don't know if you if I emphasized enough, even the new energy efficiency directive that came out a few days ago, it now has legally binding, which changes the game, because now there's going to be enforcement, monitoring, and then obligation to do something about it. And in our area, like I'm a mechanical engineer like you, we need to be careful not to replicate, blindfoldedly say, well, yeah, building, yeah, we're going to do A, B, C, and D. No, maybe it's A, F, and Z in terms of the solution. It's not the same order. It's not the same applicability to everything. And maybe that's one of the most common flaws, failures that have come up over the years with all these technologies. Everyone would come up and say, you know, you preach about solar air conditioning, for example. We tried in our building and it failed. Well, I can tell you why if I look at the decision-making process, the design, the implementation, why it failed. So even the most attractive technologies, solutions out of this big list do not apply and work in every building.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For example, I've seen a lot of Greek schools that now what they're doing in an old buildings, 40 years old, things like that, installing PV. So we have green electricity, but the kids in December, January, February, they're with their coat like that, trying to learn things. Impossible. So first you make the building to be a real one, a building without losses, with thermal comfort, and then you introduce photovoltaics. It's exactly what Costa said. It's not all the solutions the same, depending. So now, I would like, as the time is, to you, Lars, because, you know, I'm a little bit, you are ahead of us anyway in a lot of things. You've seen it also from the slides from Dr. Balaras, that Sweden was really down regarding emissions and so on. Yeah. What is the national strategy that you, as a Swedish society, you implement years ago, I believe, on issues in order to reach now to have, for example, electrification in the trucks, in the cars, in that area at least? What is what we need to do for us? What are you going to advise us to do?
Well, I'm not sure I have a good answer to that, but at least I can reflect. I think one of our strengths, both as a company and also as Swedish, I would say that we always have been quite close to the nature. We have always been quite aware, let's say, of the impact that we can have on the nature as well. And I think that has helped us quite a lot to think about, let's say, the steps that needs to be taken. Then on the other side, maybe also make a comparison with what I've heard about Greece here. I would say that also Sweden has also some things that are got for free. We have a lot of access to water power. We have a lot of opportunities when it comes to wind power. So the access to renewable energy is, of course, a strength that we have had, and we are, of course, also taking advantage of as a country. So I guess that each country, and that's also why we as a company see that we need different approaches. Each country have their strengths and the weaknesses. And when it comes to renewable, I think it's really, as we have been into, an untapped potential. And I think that has really helped us as a country. And I also think that is also one reason why many global companies are now allocating their production of batteries or data centers to Sweden due to the access of renewable energy. So of course that's also one of the many opportunities and win-wins by investing into renewable energy.
Thank you. Mihaly, you're working with a large Swedish company. If you have to advise the Greek government on that issue, what are you going to say? What are you going to propose?
So let me think, where can I start?
You have 5 minutes.
So I think let me start from the European level, because some of the challenges are common. Sweden indeed is ahead of the curve and very decisively pursuing green energy and renewable energy. So the current national strategies in Europe, I think, are outdated because we are facing a new landscape, different circumstances. We face higher interest rate, higher cost of capital, a persistent inflation, and as I mentioned, multiple supply chain bottlenecks. And it's very indicative that last month there was a big auction in the UK for offshore wind. And you know how many bids it received? It received 0 bids, 0. And similar results were seen in Germany and Spain, which is a huge blow for the renewable strategy. So for some reason, maybe political, maybe lobbying, maybe others, some governments are backtracking from renewables, and that is very dangerous. But I think going forward, what we must do, and the Greek government has to do, is to take a more holistic approach in terms of designing a strategy. It has to, of course, address the pricing scheme, because at the end of the day, for a project to go forward, it must be financially viable, so that is very important. But we need to go beyond the pricing scheme. We need to address those challenges like the energy grid, the red tape, easing the permitting phase, which in Greece we always have problems with that, even support our port infrastructure and other kinds of infrastructure. So yes, pricing is important, but we need a more holistic national strategy.
Costa, what's gonna be your advice to the government, to the authorities, to the Greek authorities, in order to promote energy efficiency in the building sector more efficiently? What's going to be?
Well, they already know what they need to do, and they have made some good strategic decisions. In Greece, there's a clear commitment for renewables. We have already been phasing out the lignite power plants. You see this in the numbers. Now, unfortunately, with all the issues and the challenges we were discussing in the previous sessions, there was a rebound. Already we see that in the increased emissions because we fired up, like the rest of Europe, our lignite power plants. But overall, the policy in the right direction. What is still missing, though, is in terms of the implementation of the renovation. We're not moving fast enough. The national programs that need to be in place to support the homeowners and the businesses in the tertiary sector with the renovation are moving at a very slow pace. It has been over 3 years now that we haven't seen a new program. And we need, if you notice this downtrend, this is not theory. This is not a curve that can, we'll see. It's now becoming a legal commitment that we all need to be able to comply with this path that the EU has committed. And at the national level, we also have a new climate law that says the same thing at the European level. And if anything, I would also encourage the state to think of the priorities in terms in helping our national industry. For example, it only was about a few months ago that they brought in a program to help support solar thermal collectors. Imagine one of the really strong industries in renewables in Greece, solar thermal collectors. It took years to really support, and we still have thousands, millions of households, of public buildings that could, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's not first priority, it's zero priority to have a solar thermal. And it's only been recently to introduce this. So some things that make perfect sense need to actually just go down into implementation.
Yeah, at the same moment, they're having programs changing the refrigerator, which is about 350 kilowatt hours per year, compared to the hot water, which is thousands of kilowatt hours for a simple family of 4 people. Nevertheless, I don't know, the last 50 seconds, I'm gonna thank all of you. You have a very informative team. I learn a lot personally. I hope also the audience learn a lot. And I would like to thank personally the Hellenic Swedish Chamber of Commerce giving me the opportunity to moderate this session. Thank you very much indeed, and have a pleasant afternoon, and looking for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.